So how do you create a retirement withdrawal strategy? You've gotten to that point, you're getting ready to retire, you know that the income from your employment is going to stop, and you have a decision to make. How are you going to approach income so that you can do the things that you want to do in retirement? Well, the first thing to realize is that this is not an easy task, and it shouldn't be approached lightly because you've worked really hard to save up a certain amount of money. And what you don't want to have happen is to miscalculate or make a mistake and run out of money way quicker than you had anticipated. So there's a lot of things to unpack and to understand when it comes to a retirement withdrawal strategy. And we're not going to be able to cover all of those things in this video. But let's talk about some general basics that can help really get your mind around how to even begin creating a retirement withdrawal strategy. So the first thing to understand is the relationship between time and risk. A lot of times you'll hear that as you get closer to retirement, or more importantly, closer to withdrawing your money, you want to have less risk. Well, why is that? Well, that has something to do with a risk called sequence of returns risk. In other words, the order in which your returns happen matter. If you want to look that up in more detail, then I would recommend Googling simply sequence of returns risk. But essentially the concept is this. If you were to retire and the market were to drop really low, and then you were to take a withdrawal out on top of that, think of that as digging a hole with 2 shovels rather than just one. And now you've dug a hole so deep that it becomes very difficult to get yourself back out of that hole. And you might run out of money way quicker than you had anticipated. So the first step in designing a withdrawal strategy for retirement is taking into consideration that relationship between risk and time. Often the way that we do that is if you could picture buckets. So you line up 4 or 5 buckets in front of you and earmark those buckets for a specific period of time. So let's say the first 5 years, then the next bucket is the next 5 years, and then the next 5 years, and then the next 5 years. And in those buckets, the tools that you use are going to become potentially increasingly more aggressive as time goes. Because money that you need for in the next 20 years might be able to ride the ups and downs of the market. But money that you need in the next 5 years, you want to really limit the amount of risk and volatility and movement in those investments. So that's really the first place to start. Then we can really get into making sure that you have emergency funds, looking at your guaranteed income sources, looking to see if maybe you need to increase your guaranteed income sources. So like I said, this can be a really complex issue with a lot of various different things to consider, and something that you really want to take your time and study and understand and make sure that you get right. But hopefully that at least gives you some ideas on the general structure of how to create a withdrawal strategy for retirement so that you can at least get started thinking through that. If you have questions, I would love to hear from you. Give me a call. We'll go ahead and include our number below the screen.